Okay, right. Oh, it's better. Okay. Oh, that was terrible. So I've got other strategies, right? I've got other strategies in place, ready to sort of like carry on with this progress. You know, I've just started off gradually, see what will work, and there's more radical strategies that I've got ready. Uh, so anyway, I had to think about, you know, what am I going to be sobering up to? Um, right, there's things on my mind about. There's things that like occur to me when I'm sort of sobering up. You have to go back in history about 400 years to when. Well, in history they call it the Reformation. Um, they changed the language. You know, England and the UK was like divided into all different areas, like all different kingdoms for quite a while, or it was changing all the time. So there were reasons, there were like political reasons to bring, you know, if everyone under a sort of the same language. But you know, they made it illegal to speak other languages like Gaelic and stuff for a time, and Welsh, I think. I'm not sure about Welsh. Okay, but they had these things called ale houses. Now, the Pope brought in this papal bull, as far as I understand, to get rid of the ale houses, to stop them using all the different herbs. Because what they would do is they'd make beer, and it would have all different herbs in it for all different ailments. So it was like the European version of traditional Chinese medicine. So, and people went to these ale houses when they were ill for their ailments, and they would drink these herbal concoctions, you know, slightly alcoholic, made with various different herbs according to what's wrong with them, you know, and they generally get better, you know, and it worked really well. So these are like book people, the people with the written word, like the church, wanting to sort of like stamp out this form of medicine and replace it with people with like leeches and like chemicals like mercury stuff, you know, like all poisons and stuff, you know, and you can't make. I don't think you can make this stuff up, you know. It's just what really. It's difficult to find out exactly what things were like before that, because they basically what they've done is when they rewrote the language, they destroyed all the old literature and stuff, rewrote the history, and just that's why you've got this thing called the Dark Ages. It's because what they were doing is they were basically getting rid of the old culture, rewriting the history. Anyone who wouldn't accept like Christianity would, you know, would be considered like evil and the devil. So you had all this, you know, and what they've done is that they replaced all these herbs with hops. So now when people drink beer, it's just got hops in it, which just makes you go to sleep. Um, so now, if I go to like the modern equivalent of an ale house, it's like a slave pen, and they're just like drinking this beer that's got like just hops in it. It's got no real medicinal uses apart from to help you sleep. It's, so then you got the because this was 400 years ago. And the history we've got is like about the witch burnings, but it was basically these people, they were closing down all these establishments where people, these ale houses, and killing them all off to sort of get rid of all the knowledge. This is the time when people were going over to the New World, going over to places like America and Australia to get away from all this persecution and this madness, that's going on in Europe, and something similar in China as well about the same time. So it's like that's what I have to wake up to. It's like the sober up to. It's like this world where people are like mad. They haven't got any humanity. They're like they're slaves, and they've been told they're free. They've got this sort of watered down version of freedom, which isn't really freedom. Like for the hemp thing, like since they made stop people growing hemp. You used to be able to like grow carp, like people all around Europe. People had ponds and moats, and they would keep carp. The monasteries typically would, and I'm sure they would have fed them on hemp seed. So they would have all the omega-3 oils like salmon have got, and people would have fed their animal crops, hemp fodder throughout the winter, and so they would have like plenty of omega oils, and it'd be really good for you. So people tended not to get very ill. Feed it to your chickens. People would make clothing out of it, and it would last for years and years. So what they've done is they've impoverished us with making hemp illegal, and it's not just impoverished us in terms of like money. It's changed the way people think, because they're also like the salmon where we would normally get like omega oils. It's all being farmed now, and it hasn't got the omega-3 oils because they're not feeding it omega-3 oils. They're feeding it omega-6 oils, and so it's not really, people haven't got the omega-3 oils, so their brains aren't working properly. So you're yeah, I'm almost certain, there's loads of my brain that's just like deactivated. It's not being used. Dave Asprey talks about this. He's had like these brain scans and stuff, and loads of his brain is not being used, and oh dear, that's what it's like for nearly everyone. Our brains have been deactivated through like bad diet, people not getting enough omega-3, and just the suppression of information. The doctors now, like, they're just basically poisoning people. It's a whole regime where it's designed to keep you in ignorance, and that means like poisoning you, stopping you having proper medicine. Oh dear. Yeah, so that's what I'm like waking up to. I'll say if I'm sobering up to, and it's just part of me doesn't want to wake up to, doesn't want to have to face this. This is one of the reasons I drink. I think alcohol is like I look at it in terms of the Dune books by David. Herbert. I've forgotten his first name. What's his name? First name. Anyways, the Dune books, and right. Well, there's that scene in the film where he's like, it's quite early on in the film, and he's like fighting the guy who plays Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek, and they've got these shields, these sort of like sort of energy shields, like from on it that comes from a belt, and yeah, sometimes it seems like that's good. The way that the alcohol works, it's like a shield, just feel protected. But if you want to go into like the desert, into like the place where all that is happening, you have to sort of you can't use the shield because it attracts the worm. So yeah, and it's just like all this suppression and oppression. It's just like, it's like a cage. It's like a cage. It's like you're in a cage, and everyone else is in a cage, and it's just, yeah. How do you deal with it? Like when I was at school, they told us about this this concept that goes back to Greek times. I think about the persona and the soul. Like, so you've got this soul, but you wear a persona, like a mask. And I was when they told us this when I was about 8. I was about 8 or 9 or something. I don't know if if that's strictly true. It's like I was wondering, why would they tell you this? What if there's cultures, well, there had been cultures where people didn't have a persona; they were just their soul. And they're not telling you that. They're not telling you it because they want to just give you this sort of version of reality that is how they want you to think of things. So you've got like a persona that's normal. What if it's not normal and it's been like it's part of this system of keeping people in ignorance? It's like when people are in a state of permanent denial, which they seem to be, they're going to have a persona, sort of like a false personality, to get them through, like to put a smile on their face and like pretend like everything's okay, even though they're basically slaves. They're in captivity. The other thing is they like changed our language, right? So it's really hard our language is messed up. It's like hobbled. Like when they tie horses' legs together so that it can't run. That's what they've done with our language. So it's like I can't go. It's not like I can go and talk to people about anything that is not worth talking about. People just won't listen to the truth. So I'm reduced to is this world where everything's fake. Everybody's like having to like act this kind of charade. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that film Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where there's just like the people aren't real people. They've got no real emotions. They won't acknowledge what's going on. Like we're all in slavery, and I mean, in order to sort of like because it's like a sort of it's like an open prison, isn't it? It's a tax farm. It's like whatever you do, you're being taxed all the time, you know, and you know, prices are exaggerated because of all these like pressures on people and all this bureaucracy and the banking system constantly sucking the value out of all the money, you know, so like it causes inflation, but it's just like the banks just sucking the value out of it, so that you have to keep like people, and then the planned obsolescence, you know, making light bulbs only last a couple of years when they can make them last 100 years, and the same with like cars and fridges and pretty much everything, clothing just falls apart, you know, and and it's causing all this pollution. So like the seas are polluted, everything's polluted. We've used up all the soil. I mean, this has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. The going back to Roman times. If although I don't trust history anymore, I don't trust what these people tell us, because it's like they just lie continually. If people lie a lot, you just can't trust anything they say, can you? That's what I think, you know. So anyway, I've got other strategies in place for like quitting drinking and stuff. So I'll see how that goes. Like tomorrow, I should know one way or the other if it's going to work or not. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, having to like look at the reasons why, some of the subconscious reasons why I haven't been like a bit successful quitting alcohol. It's like it just seems hopeless in some ways, you know. Like this life, it's just like being in a prison or a work camp, a concentration camp. And this is one of the reasons I'm not sure about. I don't trust the narrative on like the Second World War and the Nazis and that, because it's like the winners that write the history in it. And you know, when these people lie, they're constantly lying. You know, they think the thoughts of deception. You know, it's all about lying to people and in your actions, but or in your what they lie. That I just, you know, they tell you in school, they tell you you're free, but you haven't got any choice about going to school. It's just like a prison. It's like an open prison where you've got to be there during the day, 200 days a year for like 10 years. And but you're told you're free, and you're just learning. What do they teach you? They teach you like nothing. When do I use anything that they taught me in school? You know, yeah, it just sort of like it's sobering up. It's like there's just too many things that are like really make me really angry. So that's another thing. It's like trying to not get angry about stuff, and because it doesn't really solve anything, you know. Okay, so this is like yeah, going into this other world. you know, sobering up. It's like the Matrix, you know. Because if I feel like I'm getting free from this thing, because like alcohol is like it's it's a way of me being enslaved, you know. It's like shortening my life potentially, you know, and causing all these health problems like being dehydrated and so I've tried this before, you know. I did go about 10 days without alcohol about a year ago. Was it? I know about 2 years ago, I think now. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? I think 2 years ago now. Yeah. Yeah, about this time 2 years ago, I went yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, it's like, yeah, I go outside, right? If I sort of like start feeling sober and like aligned and healthy and stuff, sometimes it can be like everybody just becomes like Agent Smith. You know, I have to put on a sort of like act of pretending to be like a slave, you know. Otherwise, all the other slaves, they sort of like, they notice you like being free, and they want to kill you. They look at you like they want to kill you, you know? Because it's like you can't have anyone free when everyone else is a slave, you know, because it's like, you know, you haven't got any, you know, it's self-policing. The whole system is self-policing, isn't it? You know, like it's like that experiment they've done with the monkeys. They got all these chimpanzees, and they had them on a starvation diet, and if they went up this ladder, there was like a banana on a bit of string above this step ladder. And anytime any chimp went up the ladder to try and get the banana, they would spray all the monkeys, all 5 monkeys, chimps, with a cold jet of water, like a powerful jet of water, like an icy cold, and very quickly they oh yeah, hi Snowy. Very quickly they um, stopped going up the ladder, but they wouldn't let any of the other chimps go up the ladder to get the banana. And that's what it's like now. It's like people police themselves. And also, when they changed these chimps round every couple of days, they would like take one of the old chimps out and replace it with a new chimp, and then the new chimp would try to go up the ladder, and all the other chimps would stop it, you know, and make sure it couldn't go up the ladder. And they ended up replacing all the chimps, and so they would. And anytime they put a new chimp in, those chimps would stop any chimp going up the ladder to get the banana. And that's how people get trained. We're just primates, you know, and we've been trained like this to stop people having the vibration of being free, you know. And you know, people police you in like subtle ways, you know. It's like with things like the evil eye and passive aggressive sort of behavior, or people might just like pick on you, you know, or so anyway, there's like a way out of this. There's okay, there's like going on to higher states of consciousness, or there's things like just having to act the part, just like act like you're just like everyone else, so you basically have to copy everyone else's behavior. And like, you can still be free in yourself, I guess, and just understand that people are like all agents. They're all agents, Smith. And there's no point like talking to them about it. Dear. So anyway, these are the things I have to sober up to, and that's why sometimes it seems like really hard. And I'm trying to find a way of like making sure that I've got no excuses, to not to drink, so that I can just plow through this, and sort of get something substantial done. Okay, anyway, that was a bit long again. I'm trying to keep these things a bit more shorter, actually, so I'll stop it now. Right, thanks for watching.